Hey, it's Liz from No Trace. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to sew a very simple purse that has adjustable straps and 2 pockets. If you like this shape as much as I do, I also have a downloadable sewing pattern that walks you through this version and several other versions of this purse. It's in my shop and the link is in the description box below this video. Here's what you need to make your own simple purse with a pocket on the outside and a pocket on the inside. All of these measurements are in the description box below this video, so you can always just click underneath to see exactly how to cut your fabric. You're going to need 2 pieces of fabric for the outside of your bag that are both 11.5 inches tall and 10.5 inches wide. You're also going to need 2 pieces of fabric for the outside pocket that are only 10 inches tall and also 10.5 inches wide. You can use the same material for the pocket as for the outside, or you could mix it up and use 2 different fabrics. You want those same measurements for your liner fabric, so 2 pieces that are 11.5 tall, 10.5 wide, and 2 pieces that are 10 inches tall, 10.5 wide. You're also going to need a small scrap of fabric that's 2 inches tall and 6 inches wide. And you're going to need a strap for your purse. My strap is 54 inches long. That's a good size for my height, but you might want to make your strap shorter than this or even longer than this. The very first step is to construct the pocket for the outside and the inside. It's very simple to do. You just place the 2 pieces of fabric with the right sides together, and then you're going to sew along the top edge with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. At the machine here, I'm going to do a little back stitch at the beginning, just a few stitches. And then I'm going to go all the way down and do a back stitch when I get to the other end. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, I'm using a 1/2 inch seam allowance for the pocket fabric. Both of the fabrics are sewn up, and what we do next is we just flip the fabric around so we can see the right side, and then I'm going to go ahead and iron this top edge so that it's laying nice and flat. The pockets are done for now, so I'm just going to set them aside, and now I'm going to take the small scrap that's 2 by 6 and turn it into a little strap. I'm just going to fold this in half lengthwise, and I'm going to sew straight along this edge with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm not using any pins or anything. I'm just folding this in half, and I am going to do a back stitch at the beginning and the end. Now that it's sewn into a little tube, I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to cut right along the center. So now I have 2 3-inch tubes. And now I'm going to turn the little tubes right side out, and I am going to use a chopstick to do this. You could also do this with a safety pin or with the eraser end of a pencil, but I'm just pushing the fabric onto the chopstick until it turns around. And I went ahead and ironed them. And now we're ready to put the pieces together. So I'm going to put my pocket fabric with the right side up. It doesn't really matter with this print, but if you had a side that you liked more, put it so that it's coming up on top of your main fabric. And sometimes I try to line up the print, but it's not always possible. So that's good enough for me. Now I'm going to pin this pocket to just this one outer piece on 2 sides. And now I'm going to take my little loops and I'm going to fold them so that the folded edge is pointed towards the middle of the bag. And I am going to pin them just above the pocket over on the side. So I've got one right above that side of the pocket, the other one right above this side of the pocket, And these are going to be holding the strap in place, and they're going to let the bag strap be adjustable. I'm also adding a little personalized tag with my brand name on there. You definitely do not need to do this, but if you want to get some of your own tags printed, I have a link to the Etsy shop that I use in the description box below this video. And I'm just pinning my tag about 4 inches away from the top edge. And now that all of these pieces are pinned onto one side of the outside, I can get the other side of the outside and I can put it on top. And now I'm going to pin these layers together in a few different spots. And I'm going to do the same thing with my liner fabric. So I'm going to get the pocket on top of my liner fabric, and then I'm going to put both pieces of liner fabric together. So I'm making like a little pocket sandwich here, and I'm going to pin on all 4 sides. And now I'm going to take both of these to the machine, and I'm going to sew along these 3 sides with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, making sure that I leave the top open. At the machine here, I'm definitely going to back stitch at the beginning. I'm also going to sew over my little loops with 3 rows of stitches so that they are super secure. And I'm just going to show you how to turn a corner here in case this is new for you. You just go about a 1/2 inch away from the edge. Keep the needle down, lift the presser foot, and turn the bag, and then just keep going. Okay, I've finished sewing these layers together, so we are getting really close with this purse. I'm telling you, it's a fast one. Next up, we are going to box the corners. So I am putting my ruler, it's a perfect 1 inch square ruler, on the seam. And then I am going to trace around it. You can either use a pencil or chalk or a pen. And I am going to draw a square on all 4 of the bottom corners. Okay, I think you can see that pretty well. Now I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to cut right along the square that I drew. And of course, I'm going to save these little scraps in my scrap bins for a future project. Now I'm going to open up the bag and sort of open up these corners and clip them or pin them in place. And I want to make sure that for the liner fabric, the pocket is on the same side of the bag on both corners. So I've got it going to this side, so I can come over and pin the other corner and make sure the pocket material is still going to the left side. And I'm going to do the same thing on the corners for the outer material. And I have my little tag on top of the pocket. So I know I want the pocket to be on this side of the bag. If you don't have a tag, it doesn't really matter which way you pin your pocket. You just want to be consistent so that your pocket is on one side of your bag only. And now I'm just going to sew straight across that cut edge with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And I'm going to make sure to backstitch at the beginning and the end. The bottom corners are all sewn up. Next up, I'm going to turn my liner fabric right side out. Make sure that the pocket is on the correct side so that I have some nice corners down at the bottom. Then I'm going to put my liner fabric into my outer fabric, and I want my pocket to go on the opposite side as my other pocket so that the pockets are not back to back in the purse. So I'm going to put my pocket so that it's going to be facing the non-pocketed side. Is that a word? Non-pocketed? Let me know in the comments if that's a word or not. Okay, I'm putting it on the non-pocketed side of the outer material, and then I am going to line up the side seams of the liner fabric and the outer fabric. And I like to open up the seams when I do this, but that's optional. And I'm just going to pin them together. Come on around this way, open up these sides, line them up nicely with each other, and then pin. I'm also going to add a pin to the center of these other sides, or the main panels of the bag here. And now I'm ready to sew all around this top edge. I am starting an inch or two away from a side seam, and I'm going to do a little back stitch, and then I'm going to go all the way around, except I'm going to leave an opening of 3 or 4 inches so that I can turn my bag right side out. That top seam is finished, so now I'm going to reach my hand into that opening and pull the whole bag right side out. The bag should look like this right now, and you can always tell that your pocket is flipped the right way if you can see the corners looking nice and tidy. And now I'm going to push the liner fabric into the outer fabric, and then I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to iron this top edge so that it's nice and flat, and I'm especially going to iron the opening so that that side is lined up also. The last seam is a top stitch along this top edge. I'm going to do that in a thread that blends in a little better than that dark gray. I'm going to start my top stitching on the back side of the bag near the side seam, and I'm just going to go all the way around with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. The top stitching is finished, and the very last step is to take the strap and get the ends of the strap into the little loops on the side and then tie them in a knot so that they don't slide out again. If you wanted to, you could also add a snap to the purse right at the center, and I have a tutorial on how to do that, which I will link to right here. It's finished. I love it. Like I mentioned, if you want the downloadable version of this sewing pattern, I have a link in the description box underneath this video.